We recently spent 24 hours in Key West, Florida, the southernmost island in the Florida Keys. We tried to fit in as many popular attractions as we could in a day, and we had a great time doing it. We stayed the night in a Key West hotel. We will share all of that part of our time in Key West in a separate hotel review video. But we left the hotel early and went to the trolley stop next door to our hotel to take us into Old Key West. This is a hop-on, hop-off trolley that takes visitors on a narrated tour to different stops all across the island. The stops are near popular attractions, and you can get off the trolley to visit attractions and then come back to the stop to get back on it throughout the day to ride on to the next attraction you want to visit. One-day tickets at the time of this video are $50 and some change per person, but it is helpful because it's difficult to find parking in Key West. That won't be a concern if you take the trolley. We got off the trolley at the Southernmost trolley stop to see the southernmost tourist attractions in the continental United States. We started with the Key West Butterfly and Nature Conservancy. We were really surprised by this place. We've been to places that have butterfly houses before, but this place had so many more butterflies than I have ever seen in one place before. There had to be like hundreds of butterflies in this glass-domed tropical habitat. They kept landing on us. It was magical. There were other animals living here too, including some cute tortoises and romantic flamingos. Tickets are $17.50 for adults and $12.50 for kids. You can save a couple dollars off the adult price by purchasing them online. The experience ends in a gift shop.
Next, we walked a block or two down the road to end up at the southernmost point in the continental United States. Actually, it's not really the southernmost point. The southernmost point in Key West is actually on government-owned land next door. But this is the southernmost publicly accessible point in the continental United States. I guess that was too many words to put on the buoy, though. There's often a long line to get your picture taken at the southernmost buoy. We waited about 30 minutes to get our picture there. One hack we often see online is that you can kind of stand 15 or 20 feet away from the buoy and take a selfie with it in the background without having to wait in line at all. But if you do that, you will obviously get other people in the photo. If that's not a big deal for you, then go for it. Otherwise, this popular photo spot is not usually very busy early in the morning, so you could get out of bed early to beat the crowds. Next to the southernmost buoy is a statue of Bishop Albert Key, a minister and ambassador of goodwill to visitors who could often be found welcoming tourists at the buoy and blowing his conch shell and sharing Key West history, especially related to why residents came to be known as conchs, and information about the various different uses of conch meat. Then it was time to head back to our trolley stop and travel to our next point of interest. As we go, if you enjoy this video, please click the like button to register your positive vibes with our YouTube overlords. Alice appreciates the support.
Our next stop was the Ernest Hemingway Home and Museum. It's open every day from 9 to 5 for walk-up visitors to stop by. Guided tours start every 15 minutes. General admission tickets are $19 each. Kids 12 and under get in for $7. Our tour guide shared a lot of interesting information, but we were often distracted by Hemingway's cats. Ernest Hemingway was gifted a polydactyl cat, which means a cat with extra toes. Today, 60 polydactyl cats live on the grounds of Hemingway's house, some of whom are direct descendants of Hemingway's cat. Not all of them actually have extra toes, but they do all carry the polydactyl gene, so any of them could produce offspring that are polydactyl. Anyway, this Spanish colonial-style home was built in 1851. Hemingway bought it in the 1930s, by which time renovations were necessary. Many of the current furnishings were actually owned by Hemingway. Other possessions of his, including his books and typewriter, are also on display. A story told by our tour guide recounted the time Hemingway's then wife had an in-ground swimming pool built while he was out of town covering the Spanish Civil War. It was the first in-ground pool in Key West. She had it built right where he kept his boxing ring in the yard. The cost of building this pool was so high that when Hemingway got home and found out about it, he exclaimed, "Pauline, you've spent all but my last penny, so you might as well have that," and he threw a penny at her. She embedded that penny in the concrete near the pool. Anyway, there's a lot to see here, and your visit ends in a bookstore where you can buy books written by or about Hemingway, as well as some souvenirs from your time at the Hemingway home. We also stuck around a while visiting the 60 cats that lived there.
Right across the street from the Hemingway home is the Key West Lighthouse and Keeper's Quarters Museum. For $17 per adult and $9 for kids 18 and under, you can tour the museum and the home where the lighthouse keepers lived. There are also discounts for seniors, college students, and military members. While Alice hung out at ground level, I climbed the 88 steps to the top of the lighthouse to take in the view. The lighthouse is 100 feet tall. I've seen bigger. At that height, you can see the entire island, plus glimpses of the ocean around it. The views are beautiful, and there's signage up there pointing out important landmarks all around the island. We also checked out the Keeper's Quarters, which had some historical exhibits inside. This particular lighthouse opened in 1948 with a female lighthouse keeper, which was extremely unusual at the time. There were exhibits and videos about the responsibilities of the keepers, their lives in the keeper's quarters, and the light itself, including its Fresnel lens. The grounds of the lighthouse can be rented out for weddings and other special events. They were setting up for one such event during our visit. After that, we got back on the trolley for more narrated tour. We then got off the trolley to stop for lunch at Pepes Cafe. This is the oldest eatery in the Florida Keys, and is the second oldest eatery in the entire state of Florida. It opened in 1909 and has a lot of historical photos and artwork around the restaurant and bar.
We were at Pepes for lunch, so here's a look at their lunch menu. You can pause the video if you want to study the menu in detail. I just ordered peel and eat shrimp off their appetizer menu for $16.96. It was a half pound, which I couldn't finish, but I love shrimp, so this was good. Jack ordered the chicken breast sandwich with lettuce, tomato, and cheese for $16.45. The sandwich came with your choice of coleslaw, macaroni salad, or German fried potatoes. Jack got the German fried potatoes, which he liked pretty well. This was a nice restaurant with a cool place in Key West history. Jack's plan was to go to the Truman Little White House, a presidential vacation home that presidents can still use today, though I don't think that happens very often. The public can tour the home when there's no president there. But it was after 3, and we weren't going to fit everything in, so I suggested we cut visiting another historic home out and save it for next time. We boarded the trolley again and traveled to our next spot, the Shipwreck Museum, which was in an area called Mallerie Square. But when we got off the trolley and walked towards the museum, that is when I noticed there was an aquarium nearby. I wasn't aware there was an aquarium, but Jack was. He researched this trip, and from what he read, this aquarium was small compared to other aquariums we've been to, and we had already visited a turtle hospital on this trip to the Keys, so he had not mentioned its existence to me as an option. But I love aquariums, so we went to check it out instead of the Shipwreck Museum. And we both enjoyed it and were glad we visited. This aquarium turned 90 years old this year, and it's currently home to over 200 specimens of fish and sharks and sea turtles. When we first entered, we found the touch tank and looked around a bit, though I had a much cooler experience there on our way out. We were visiting the Stingrays when we were told a meeting was about to take place outdoors at their Atlantic Shores Game Fish and Sharks pool. An aquarium worker fed the nurse sharks tarpons and grouper that call this pool home. As she fed them, she talked about each species and told us about their lives and what they eat. They've even trained these animals to notice certain targets that they put down in the water to know when it was their turn to eat. So each type of sea creature only swims over when given the sign that it's their turn. This demonstration takes place 3 times a day. We also saw an injured sea turtle who lives out in the same pool. I love turtles, so that was awesome. We walked back in the building, and I was excited to see a sea turtle feeding. The sea turtles are unreleasable due to injuries, including a turtle suffering from positive buoyancy disorder, also known as bubble butt syndrome, which we had just learned about a couple days earlier at the turtle hospital. We walked along the perimeter of the room and saw fish swimming around their tanks for a bit. The aquarium was about to close for the day, and they invited the few guests who were left to come to the touch tank and help put the animals there to bed. Some of the animals in the tank do not coexist well without supervision, so at the end of the day, they separate the animals into different sections of the tank and place little plastic containers with weights on them to protect the prey and prevent the predators from hunting the others. As we put the animals in their place to rest for the night, the aquarium worker told us about each animal. It was a really fascinating experience to end our visit as the aquarium closed.
We exited the aquarium through the gift shop. As a warning, there was a lot of turtle merchandise in case anyone out there needs to be on guard to keep their spouse from trying to buy all of it. But there was other aquarium merchandise too. There was also key lime merchandise with all kinds of key lime flavored treats. And there was mile marker zero merchandise in reference to the mile marker zero sign in Key West at the southern end of US Route 1, which starts in Key West and goes all the way up the East Coast and ends at the US-Canada border in Maine. There were also sea sponges of various types for sale, along with some signage about the sponging business in the Keys. I guess now is a good time to mention all the roosters and chickens, too. The chickens were brought to the island by settlers in the 1800s as a food source, and by some other people for the purpose of cockfighting, which was of course eventually outlawed. Anyway, a lot of chickens were let loose to live free range on the island, and you may see them most anywhere through town. They've become an important part of the island's vibe. The aquarium is in an area called Mallerie Square Market. There are lots of shops outdoors that we checked out. We then went inside the shops at Mallerie Square, a small mall in a historic building from the 1800s. We weren't really looking for anything in particular. The next thing we were going to was in Mallerie Square, and we had a bit of time to waste before it started. We got some coffee and a chocolate croissant at a coffee shop called Cuban Coffee Queen. By the time we were done walking around the boutiques and galleries and the shops at Mallerie Square, it was time to head outside for a big event that's held daily. The Key West Sunset Celebration at Mallerie Square. When we arrived outside, vendors had already set up their kiosks and were selling snacks. There were some artists out there selling their work. There was a psychic who I assume already knew we weren't going to stop off at her table. As we waited for sunset, we were entertained by a juggler who performed various stunts for our entertainment. His closer was doing a balancing act at the top of a ladder that was leaning against nothing. It was only being held up by audience members with ropes. We found a spot along the water to enjoy the view of the sun setting beyond the privately owned island across the bay and over the Gulf of America. When the sun finally disappeared over the horizon, the crowd quietly dispersed, which seemed anticlimactic. I was expecting something to happen when the sun went down, maybe a cheer to go up through the crowd or music to start or something, but no. We watched the sunset, then we all quietly walked away. The sunset celebration is a free event every night in Mallerie Square. It's definitely worth the time to watch a beautiful sunset with a few hundred people, and a juggler, and a psychic.
After that was over, we walked around town, taking in a bit of a music festival that was going on the day we were in Key West. The event was the Key West Songwriters Festival. It lasted 3 or 4 days. There were some ticketed shows, but some performances were just taking place on stages out in the streets. We aren't sure who we were listening to at any given time, but we enjoyed listening to a bit of live music. Once it was dark, we found a restaurant we wanted to check out. It was called the First Flight Island Restaurant and Brewery. It's located in the building that was the birthplace of the now defunct Pan Am Airlines. Here's a look at the menu. We dined outside under the canopy of trees. I had the beef brisket mac and cheese for my entree for $20. It was really good. Jack had the chef's catch of the day with asparagus and risotto at market price. We don't remember what kind of fish it was, but Jack loved it. And then we ordered a slice of key lime pie to split, which is the perfect way to end any day in Key West. The trolley tours ended several hours earlier, so we took an Uber back to our car at the hotel. We had a lovely day in Key West. We loved the vibe and saw so much, but there's still so much left to see someday when we return, which we will definitely do. Click the link at the end of this video to go see the rest of our Florida Keys playlist. And be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so we can see you the next time we're traveling through.